All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is April 16th. We got ourselves a Sunday filled with a bunch of MLB games. We're going to jump into each and every game like we always do. I'll give you my lean or leans on the game, but all my final plays, what I'm actually going to be rolling with, is updated in the pinned comment throughout the day. That is what I'm actually rolling with myself, what I'm most confident in, and what counts towards the record. So keep an eye on the pinned comment for my updated final plays. Guys, in terms of final plays from yesterday, we are looking at, and the haters aren't gonna like this one, we go 4-2 yesterday. We had the Yankees money line and the under in that game cash. The Rays money line did not come through for us. We'll talk about that in just a second, or at least when we get to that part of the slate today. We had the Guardians coming from behind, -1.5 there on the run line. That cashes. The Mets, they win the game, but they do not cash the run line for us. And then we have Braves money line. Again, a 4-2 night. We can cash it. The haters that were alive and well yesterday aren't so well anymore, guys. If you are not a hater, what a good time to say this. If you guys are not a hater, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like this video as well. And you know what? Even if you are a hater, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, before we get into the slate, I do have a couple things to talk about here. First and foremost, I talked about it yesterday in the video. We did lose our TikTok account. It got banned at near 30,000 followers, wrongfully banned. So we're hoping to get that back, filing reports, appeals, yada, yada, yada. But in the interim, we do have a new account, and that's where we post all of our player props, some of our no-run first innings, our parlays of the day, a lot of cool, different content over there as well. So if you guys could do me a favor, and I mean a favor, go ahead and follow that new TikTok account. I'll link that both in the description as well as the pinned comment. It would mean a lot to me. Obviously, being a content creator and losing one stream of content is actually a big deal, maybe a bigger deal than you guys might think. So if you would, just trust me and go follow that TikTok account. It would mean a lot. So yeah, make sure to go do that. Would greatly appreciate it. But let's jump into the first game here. We got the Tigers taking on the Giants. Boyd on the mound for the Tigers, 4 ERA this season. Webb on the mound for the Giants, which I'm kind of surprised, but a 0-3 start for him, 6.35 ERA. Both teams are 5-9s. In terms of odds here, Tigers +135 at home. The total is sitting at 8 runs right now. Yesterday's game, Detroit takes that one 7-6, which I was a little bit shocked by. I don't really trust this Detroit team. I am going to lean towards San Francisco in this game. -151 average money line here. I don't think is necessarily the most value. I can't really entertain the run line for only +107, so I am going to lean towards San Francisco -151, but I like in this game a little bit more than anything is going to be the over. I think this one could easily get into the double digits here. In fact, we've seen that already with these two teams, obviously. So I do like the over here. Again, games in this series so far were 7-5 and then 7-6. No reason to be fading the over or anything like that. So those are going to be my leans in that one. Moving on, we got the Angels taking on the Red Sox here. In terms of who's pitching for the Angels, we have Detmer's on the mound there. He's no decision this season, but 5.59 ERA. Garrett Whitlock 0-1 this season with a 9 ERA. Both teams kind of struggling. Red Sox 7-8, Angels 7-7. Yesterday's game went about as we expected. Red Sox win that one 9-7. Game 1 of the series went Red Sox winning 5-3. In terms of money here, Red Sox are -110 here on the money line at home, which I think is fantastic odds. I think that this one probably should be priced at around like -130, -135-ish. So the fact we're getting -110 or better on some of your sports books if you shop around for the best line, I really do like. I'm going to lean the Red Sox here. In terms of the total, it is 9.5. That is very high, but I don't see any reason why these two teams can't do it. I don't feel as great about that total as I do Red Sox money line, but I just will say I think that is a doable number. Again, yesterday's game was 9-7 here. All right, moving on, one of our wins from yesterday, we had the Yankees money line. Today, they're -155 on the money line at home, and that total is down to 7 runs. So obviously, Vegas catches on to what was going on there. On the mound for the Yankees, we have Garrett Cole, who's 3-0 on the season with a 1.4 ERA. Pablo Lopez having a good season already himself, 1-0 in terms of record, but a 1.3 ERA. So now you have two teams that weren't scoring a lot of runs against each other with two decent pitchers, well, good pitchers on the mound, I should say. Obviously, this total is going to be super low, which almost makes me want to be the contrarian in the room and say, oh, all signs lead towards an under here, so it's going to go over. So stupidly, and again, I don't think this becomes a final play. Maybe it does. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. I am going to lean towards the over first and foremost because I just think that that's too low. Even yesterday, the Yankees scored 6 runs. Yes, the Twins only scored 1, but they still came to a total of 7 without Minnesota even doing anything, right? And then game one of the series was the only one that was like a high scoring game, was 11-2, which I don't think Minnesota can score 11 runs, but it shows that they can get the bats hot. Now, Cole on the mound is a lot different, obviously, than Johnny Brito on the mound, who I believe pitched in that game. But nonetheless, I do think that 7, now we're getting to the territory where it's just a little bit too low. So call me a crazy contrarian. We'll sound the psycho alert alarm, but it is what it is. In terms of a money line play, I think this one is fairly easy. Even though we're paying a lot of juice, I am going to lean towards Yankees minus 1.5 here, or minus the 155. But I don't hate them on the run line minus 1.5 either. Plus 135 odds, decent money there as well. All right, we got the Nationals hosting the Guardians here. Nationals plus 200 at home. Corbin on the mound for them. He's 1-2 this season. 7.7 ERA. Shane Bieber on the mound for the Guardians. As we know, great pitcher. 1-0 on the season in terms of decisions. And then 2.37 ERA. We cashed Guardians run line yesterday. I don't know what to make of this, though. Listen to the odds. For money line here, Guardians minus 225. We have to fade that. We're not even looking, not even considering that. That's way too much juice. But for run line, I was like, okay, we can get behind that, right? Run line, minus 143. It's like that value is not even remotely close to what I'd like to see either there. So it's a little scary. We got run line yesterday. I guess it's obviously a pitching thing with Bieber on the mound. We got run line yesterday at minus 110. I don't love seeing, run line minus 143. I'm not willing to pay that. So in terms of a lean, I'm probably sticking away from either side here. I guess maybe Guardians in some sort of a parlay could be a good play because I can't really lean towards Washington. I don't trust that whatsoever. But I do look at this total and say 9 runs is just a tad too high. So I'm going to lean towards the under. But again, this is a tough one. They're kind of catching on to this series dynamic here. And Cleveland, the money just isn't there to be backing them unless you're throwing them into some sort of parlay or something. All right, Toronto taking on Tampa Bay. Toronto plus 120 here at home. Total is at 8.5. The Rays, obviously, they didn't lose a game heading into this series, and then the Blue Jays have taken 2 from them already, which is kind of crazy here. The final scores were 5-2 and 6-3. They really do have their number. I don't know necessarily what to think because my lean is Tampa Bay again. I'm still seeing the same story that I saw for the last 2 days, but those lost. I'm a loser when it comes to picking these Rays-Jays games, but I am going to go and lean towards the Rays again today. I can't see them losing 2 things here. Can't see them losing 3 in a row, after losing 2 in a row. And then McClanahan, whatever his damn name is, Mickey D's over there, Mickey C's is on the mound for the Rays. So he's a 1.5 ERA, having a good season, 3-0. Manoah is on the mound for the Jays, who I don't hate at all. McClanahan, I swear to God, I feel like I had 8 beers every time I try and say his name. But McClanahan is on the mound for the Rays. I trust him a lot more. I think, you're getting decent odds here too. Minus 130. You can get some minus 120s on some sports books as well. I might be crazy. I'm leaning the Rays again. And I'm pretty damn confident that's going to be a final play too, because I just cannot see them losing 3 in a row. They're one of baseball's better teams, especially offensively. And speaking of that, the total right now is 8.5. I want to say the over is going to hit in this game, but we haven't really seen it again from these 2 teams thus far. 6-3 and then 5-2. Right, both of those on both sides of this line here. So I am going to lean towards the under. I want the over, but I'm going to lean towards the under. Just the smarter play. Miami taking on the Diamondbacks here. Marlins minus 130 at home. Total is all the way down there at 7 runs. That might be due to weather here. There's a chance for precipitation and then 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing directly into the batter's face. Obviously, that stadium, retractable, like the weather isn't really going to affect it if it does start to get crappy out. But just noting that might be the reason why they have this total so low. And then another reason why they might have this total so low is because these games have been fairly low scoring between the two. 5-1. And 3-2. So 7 runs, again, similar to the Yankees game. I'm going to look at that and say, you know what? I understand why your line is down at 7. But I'm going to say screw your line, and we're going to hit the over today. I am going to lean towards the over in this game. And I'm also going to lean towards Miami. Again, minus 130 here at home. They've just shown, at least, which is a little shocking to me, I'll be completely honest. They've shown who is, I would say, the clear-cut better team so far in this series, regardless of who's pitching and regardless of, who's in the lineup. I think that we're seeing this Miami team actually kind of come to form in this series. So I'm going to lean Marlins there. All right, we got the Reds hosting the Phillies. I feel like the series has been going for like a million years. Reds right now plus 175 at home. Total is at 9.5. Yesterday's game, we looked at a Cincinnati team that smothered, smoked, creamed the Phillies 13-0. Before that, the Phillies won 8-3, and then just before that, Cincinnati won 6-2. So they have absolutely flip-flopped this series. Cincy wins, Philly wins. Cincy wins yesterday by 13-0. You probably got everyone and their grandmother picking Cincy now because of how, you know, they creamed them yesterday. I'm going to look at the Phillies here, take them on the money line in terms of a lean here, just because I think this is a flip-flop series. You have two teams that I do think have played, or at least shown that they are fairly similar, and I don't think that I want to jump on board with the public and say, oh, look at this, the Reds, they beat them 13-0 yesterday, let's take the plus money and take that side. So I'm leaning away from that. In terms of the total 9.5, I do think that this is a game that can get up in the double digits. By how much, I'm not sure. I don't love it altogether, but I am going to lean towards the over. All right, the White Sox are taking on the Orioles here. White Sox, Cisse on the mound for them. Grayson Rodriguez on the mound for the Orioles. White Sox minus 140 here at home. Total is sitting at 8 runs. Now, this one is a tough one to pick. I'm sure if you guys have been watching this Baltimore team, you know that they're super inconsistent, but so are the White Sox. The only thing that I can say is Cisse on the mound for him. I do like when he's on the mound, obviously, for them. So I'm going to lean towards White Sox here, minus 140, but it's almost like if you're betting the White Sox when he's not on the mound, good luck. You know, it's like the only hope as of late here. Again, 2-0 in the season with a 1.65 ERA. That is going to be our lean. And then in terms of a total, 8 runs seems a little high for me. I'm going to take a peek at the under in this one. All right, we got the Royals hosting the Braves. Braves came through for us with a money line win yesterday. Right now, Royals at home are plus 150 on the money. 9 is where the total is sitting at as of right now. Again, yesterday, this Braves team comes through for us. They've won both games by a landslide here, 10-3 and 9-3. Kansas City, as we know, just isn't really the best of teams. Greinke on the mound, who has yet to get his first win, but still only 3.3 ERA, right on the mound for the Braves, who has a 12 ERA, which you do not necessarily love to see. My lean in this is probably a crazy one, I will admit that, but I'm going to look at Kansas City on the run line, plus 1.5 for minus 116 odds. I think that Greinke's going to be able to at least, you know, temper the Braves bats here, and I don't trust Wright on the side for the Braves either. So I do think that this game is going to be one that sticks to an under and probably ends up finishing around like, say 4-3 or something like that, where yes, the Braves win. They are the better team. I get that. And the better offense, but I don't know if they necessarily are the better pitching team today. And then defensively, I think they're very similar. But yeah, run line, I think this Kansas City team can keep it close. Call me crazy, but that is going to be the lean. And like I said, I'm also looking at the under. All right, now we move on to St. Louis hosting the Pirates here. St. Louis minus 165 here at home. Total sitting at 8.5 runs. Pittsburgh gets the win yesterday. They got the win in the first game as well, 5-0. Then they lose 3-0, and then they win 6-3. St. Louis for minus 165. I don't totally love, but Pirates for plus 150 on the money line actually seems like it has some good value to me there. Keller on the mound, he's 1-0 with a 3.5 ERA. And Mikolas on the mound for the Cardinals, 0-1 with a 10.05 ERA. I am going to lean towards Pittsburgh strictly from an odds and money perspective here. They've shown that they can beat this Cardinals team and crush this Cardinals team if they want to or if they need to. Getting that type of odds on the road here on the money line near plus 150, I do like that. In terms of a total, I'm not gonna lie, I was looking at this and had it pegged in my notes as an over, and then I was like, no, but look at this. Each game so far, one team shows up. For an 8.5 type total, I'm not going to count on one team showing up. So I'm actually going to lean towards the under and kind of fade my initial gut reaction to what I thought was going to happen in this game. All right, we got the Mets taking on the A's here. The Mets coming off of a win yesterday, 3-2. Again, they did not cover the run line for us. They won the first game 17-6. Oakland just doesn't have anything going right now. Sears on the mound for them. He's 0-1 in the season, 5.59 ERA. Butto on the mound for the Mets. Budo, whatever you want to call him. No decisions, no ERA, obviously, as of yet. I do think that this total is very weird. This opened up at a 7-run total, and it's all the way up to 9. So it's almost telling me Vegas knows something that we don't necessarily know. So I'm just going to be honest with you guys. And sometimes I think it's really good advice when gambling. If something like that happens, don't try and think like you're the smartest person in the room. That's a weird thing that happened. Just trust that maybe Vegas knows something. It was at 7, and they jumped to 9. They think that a decent amount of runs may be scored in this game. They didn't want people pulling the trigger on the over there whatsoever. Now, it gets to 9. That means that they've really honed in and picked that number, right? So to me, I think that this is a game that sits anywhere between 7 and 9 runs. So I am going to lean the under, but it's worth noting and picking up on the fact that something like that happened, right? That sort of really big line shift. In terms of money here, A's at home, plus 150. 150. I like the Mets here on the money line. Minus 140-ish is decent juice to be paying, but I don't think it's out of the question. So I'm going to lean towards the Mets in the under. All right, Dodgers taking on the Cubs. Merlis on the mound for the Dodgers. He's 3-0 in the season with a 1.5 ERA. Drew Smyly on the mound for the Cubs, 0-1 with a 6.5 ERA. Yesterday's game, Chicago lost that one. LA wins 2-1, but they've only scored 2 runs in both games in this series. The bats are yet to come alive. In terms of money here, you're looking at the Dodgers, minus 225 at home on the money line. The total is at 8 runs. I've also seen 8.5 on some sportsbooks, so depending on what side you're on, you might want to go check that out. But I think the value here is going to be Cubs plus 208 money line. That's crazy value for a team that obviously can compete with this Dodgers team. So I'm going to lean Chicago here on the money line. And then in terms of a total, again, the graphic here has 8. I've seen 8.5 plenty. I think that there's still going to be less runs scored. So even though the sportsbook's moving that way, all the numbers that I have are telling me that there's still an underplay. All right, San Diego taking on Milwaukee. Wade Miley on the mound for Milwaukee. He's 1-1 on the season, 2.45 ERA. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres, 0-1 with a 4.7 ERA here. Yesterday's game went about, opposite of what I thought would happen. So obviously Milwaukee wins the first 2 games. I think the first game, if I'm not mistaken, may have gone to extras, but they win 4-3. Then they win 11-2 in game 2. And I thought that this Milwaukee team was just clear-cut better than the Padres, right? Well, they lose 10-3 yesterday, which is very, very shocking to me. And now you have the Padres as severe favorites in this one as well. Minus 165 at home. The total is at 8. I think the value is on the Milwaukee side of things at near plus 150 odds on the money line. So that is going to be my lean there. In terms of a lean on the total here, again, 8 runs. I think this one is a clear cut over. 2 of 3 games so far in this series, we've seen go miles over the line. So I am going to lean towards the over and Milwaukee. All right, a couple games left on the slate. We have the Mariners, who are heavy favorites at home, minus 300 here. Total is sitting at 8 runs. Obviously, we're not going to consider minus 300 on the run line here, but this Rockies team has lost 7 of their last 10 games. They've lost 4 in a row. They haven't had the easiest of schedules, I'll be completely honest. So I don't want to necessarily hold that against them. Castillo's on the mound for the Mariners, a good pitcher, 1-0 with a 1.02 ERA this season. Almost just mathematically and money-wise, I'm fading everything Seattle. Even their run line, I forget which game it was we just talked about as well, but -1, the Guardians, right? Minus 144 on the run line here. That is not even something I want to consider. I don't want to say, hey, you got to win by 2 runs, and still I don't get that much money if you do. You know what I mean? That's a lot of juice to be paying. Obviously, we're not going to consider minus 300 from the San Diego side, or minus for the Mariners side of things. Jeez, brain fart there. So I am going to look at the Rockies here, and I'm going to look at them on the money line. Almost plus 300. You could 3 times your money potentially if the Rockies do decide to pull this one out. Do I make this a final play? Honestly, we'll have to wait and see, because that's a psycho crazy. If we didn't already pull the psycho, you know what? We'll do it again. I'm going Rockies money line here in terms of a lean. That's a second psycho play, which means this might be a psycho video, but I do think that that's just a decent value there. Again, guys, that's what it's coming down to. Do not get me wrong. If this was, an even sort of keeled game in terms of odds, obviously I would lean the Mariners. They're a better team. But plus 300 versus minus 300, only one of those I'm considering, which means I'm going to lean that way. And then in terms of a total 8 runs, I like this one going over as well. As we move on to the final slated game here, we have the Houston Astros taking on the Texas Rangers. Houston minus 195 here on the money line. The total right now is sitting at 8 runs. Texas catching a loss yesterday. Houston lost the first game in very similar fashion. So Houston loses 6-2, and then Texas loses 8-2. It sounds like it might be Texas's time again, and that is the way that we're going to lean, just because, similar to what we just talked about, I don't want to consider minus 195 on the Houston side of things. And then honestly, I think that these two teams, obviously they've been kind of volatile. Both games have been a runaway type game either way. I think that this third game sticks a little bit closer. So my 2 leans here would be Texas money line for plus money, plus 175-ish money, which is crazy money. And then also I don't hate minus 125 for the run line at plus 1.5. I think that this game is actually going to be a lot closer than we saw the first 2 games here. In terms of a total, again, it's looking at 8 runs right now. I think this one gets to the 9+ mark, so I'm going to lean towards the over. And that is going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. Hopefully you guys do enjoy, and I will catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.